as flag bearer. Also in the bulletin, the OSP continues its tussle with Cecilia Dapaah, but to what end? We have the latest details for you this morning. Leave inside, Zambia's president warns potential coup plotters not to threaten the Southern African nation's democratic rule and stability. We have details of these and more stories coming your way. We are streaming on Facebook at TV3 Ghana. You can join us with your thoughts and comments, and also on DSTV channel 279. To our first story, there could be more withdrawals in the NPP flag bearer race after one of the top contenders, Alan Kojo Kyerematen, dropped from the race yesterday. There's more in this report.
I'll be surprised if any of the two teams go to celebrate that Chief Alan has stepped out. Yes, he was going to be a very force to reckon with on November 4th, but his absence doesn't mean a total win for any of the two frontline candidates. And I will advise that Dr. Owusu Efriye-Akoto and Mr. Adainimo would have followed suit based on the scientific work I did, which suggests that their inroads are not going to be any way significant. I would have wished that they too pulled out, and then we allow a proper straight fight between Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and Ken Ohene-Ajaapong. But for Alan pulling out, I think it is his prerogative. People must respect his decision at this point in time. And the good news is that he has said in his release that he remains a party man and will continue to do what he can to support his party. Alan, as we all know, is a true party man. Because of that, I will be very surprised if he announces an alliance or throws his weight to any of the candidates. I think the decision he has taken places him at a position of a senior member of the party, at a position where going forward, he should be ready to offer strategic advice to the party and play the role of an advisor to help the party do a proper show in 2024. If he joins any of the two leading candidates, Ken or Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, my view is that you would have reduced his stature to kind of a second filial, a filial accompanying any of the candidates. Yes, even if he has an obvious choice, I think per his pedigree, he should stay neutral, support both ends as a party man would do, and offer elderly strategic advice to those going for this contest and even for 2024.
The withdrawal of former Trade and Industry Minister Alan Kyerematen from the upcoming NPP primary on November 4, 2023 has dominated public conversations. But what has been the dominant theme? Well, my colleague with the political desk has joined us this morning to throw more light on the back of this story, Duke Mensah. Good morning. Hello, Duke. Good morning.
Hello? Hello, Godwin, can you hear me?
All right, just like I was indicating, the withdrawal of former Trade and Industry Minister Alan Kojo Kyerematen from the upcoming NPP primary on November 4 has dominated public conversations. But what has been the dominant theme, and Duke Mensah Opoku is our political desk correspondent, and he has been keeping an eye on this particular news. Good morning, Duke.
Good morning, Godwin. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. I imagine
Great.
there's no bigger talking point in the Ghanaian political space than this one, I guess.
You guessed right, Godwin. And I can tell you on authority that it's one of the issues that has really dominated discussions across the board on most social media platforms and even in public discussions, on buses and everywhere that you have Ghanaians converging to discuss matters. I can tell you that, you wouldn't have a dominant theme going through everything, but it's a mixed bag. So for instance, but I can tell you, for instance, on Twitter, or X now, not Twitter anymore, on X now, you have Alan Cash and Alan Shermatin in the top trends on that social media platform. But let me bring you what the reaction of some notable members of the New Patriotic Party have actually been tweeting. Let's start with Gabi Asare-Ochodako. Now he wrote on his Facebook page yesterday's Facebook wall that in life, what makes you or breaks you is how you handle adversity. So sounding proverbial and not really, being upfront or clear about this issue. Now, Courage Nobi is one of the campaigners for Alan Shermatin. He's also an NPP communicator. He, reposts what Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh of CDD post on his Facebook wall somewhere in 2020. He says, your opponent may be in the rival party, but your enemies are right there with you in the same party.
All right, Duke.
Yeah.
What has been the dominant reaction so far? And do we know from their observations what Alan's line of action is likely to be?
Well, for the dominant conversation, as I indicated earlier, that is not, it's not as if, everybody is putting out there what they think. It looks to be a mixture of surprise and shock. As to the next line that he would want to take, if you gauge from the reactions of his followers or his campaigners, two strands come out clearly. So for instance, someone like Hobson Adoye has written on his Facebook wall, continue to insult me and later come back that we should be one. You will then hear sounds. You will then hear real sounds. That should tell us that, some of them are not ready for the unity after all the trolling. If you also look at people like Davis Opoku Ansa, long-standing aide of Alan, MP from prior, so he just posted the MPP logo, not the logo, the MPP flag. If you look at Collins Owusu-Amankwa, who also vigorously campaigned for Alan, especially in the Ashanti region,
all right,
you would see that he has posted a picture of the elephant and says, forever will remain an elephant.
Absolutely. So thank you very much for the updates this morning. Duke is with our political desk, and you should trust him to bring you all the updates subsequently. Away from that, Office of the Special Prosecutor reseizes money from Cecilia Dapaah's house and refreezes her bank account after complying with earlier court orders. Special Prosecutor Kissi Jabeng is, in a statement, noted that the office has only exercised its statutory powers.
An Accra High Court on August 31 ordered the OSP to, within 7 days from its ruling, return all the monies of Cecilia Dapaah, as well as 2 frozen bank accounts to her. Justice Edward Chum in his ruling noted that the special prosecutor had not proved reasonable grounds to freeze Cecilia Dapaah's accounts and described the action as one born out of speculation, reaction to public sentiment, and poor investigations. The Office of the Special Prosecutor, while accepting the ruling, disagreed with the court and assured the public that it will take all the necessary steps to ensure that the seized amounts and the balances in Madame Dapaah's bank accounts and investments are neither concealed, lost, or otherwise dissipated. The OSP in a statement has disclosed that after complying with the court ruling, it has discharged the frozen accounts and investments of Cecilia Dapaah and also returned the seized cash. It, however, added that with the investigation into corruption and corruption-related offences against the former sanitation minister underway, the special prosecutor has invoked his statutory power under Section 32(1)(a) and 38(1) of Act 959 by directing the seizure of the cash amounts and freezing the bank accounts again. This, he noted, is necessary to facilitate ongoing investigations. Lord Idwasari, TV3 News, Accra.
Away from the capital, Accra, let's cross over to Kenya. Africa's position in dealing with the global climate crisis is to be formally communicated later today as the inaugural Africa Climate Summit climaxes today. The three-day event has seen over 22 African heads of state and world leaders converge in identifying solutions to the threats of global warming. Eric Mawena Egbeta is a man at the summit in Kenya, and he's joining us with the latest details this morning. Mawena, good morning. Day 3 of the summit. What are we to expect?
Right, like you rightly put it, Godwin, the expectation is that by 2 p.m. today, which is about 11, we should be getting the declaration from the President of Kenya. It's generally a consensus put together by the about 22 heads of state, state actors, non-state actors who've been present at this particular function in the last 3 days, really. Different plenary sessions with different conversations, carbon market, renewable energy, just transitions, the different thematic areas, really. Everything is going to be put together. And at 9 a.m., which is about now, the heads of state are expected to be in a debriefing, really, which is currently ongoing, going through all of the conversations that's been happening. They're going through a debrief. Then there'll be a plenary session much later this morning as well, where you'll have a final get-together, have conversations in relation to what has been discussed, and then much later at 2 p.m., that final declaration will come through. Obviously, we've got the crux of the conversation in the last 3 days, really, which has been a reform of the global financial architecture. That is expected to feature strongly when that declaration is made, but also other areas which will involve the carbon markets and the transition into renewable energy for Africa. Godwin.
Mawena, lastly, are there indications much could change after this conference?
Well, the indications are quite high because just yesterday, during the delivery of speeches from the various heads of state, the EU Commissioner or the EU President, Her Excellency Ursula von der Leyen, just when she finished speaking, they agreed a pact has been agreed with the Kenyan government up to 12 million euros in hydrogen renewables for the Kenyan government. And so that's one of the commitments that's been made. The US Presidential Special Envoy as well has been making some commitment as well, where $3 billion is expected to be made available to heads of state on the African continent to be for climate adaptation. And so the belief really is that this will move beyond the talk this time around with a declaration coming through.
Right, Mawena Egbeta is in Kenya bringing us all the updates regarding climate change in the country. You're still watching the morning news here on TV3 with me, Godwin Asidba. You can join the conversation on Facebook and on Twitter at TV3 Ghana. Away from that, as government struggles to end illegal mining, the paramount chief of Mampong has tasked his colleagues not to allow mining in their areas. Dasibre Osei Bonsu II cautioned even with authorization from the Minerals Commission, he won't allow the mining of gold within his jurisdiction.
The wanton destruction of water bodies and the environment as a result of Galamsey is far from over. Government has initiated several interventions to end the menace, but it continues with impunity. Speaking at the opening of the 32nd Christoph Heinz African Human Rights Moot Court competition at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Dasibre Osei Bonsu indicated that chiefs can play a role in overcoming the canker.
Some of us paramouncies have been bold, and we've stuck our neck and chest out to challenge government-established commissions, Mineral Commission, etc., etc. Far from sounding boastful, I kick them out of my kingdom, that you can't come to Mampong to come and dig any hole, that you want gold. This cancerous Galamsey taking place in Ghana, good source of drinking waters, all polluted and gone.
Former Chief Justice Sophia Akufu also added a voice to the Galamsey menace.
The Africa we want, however prosperous we envisage it to be, must be sustainable with pristine forests, clean rivers and streams, and clean, breathable air, not denuded dust bowls with poisonous water created by Live for Today policies and practices.
The Christoph Haynes African Human Rights Moot Court Competition is the largest gathering of law students of 61 universities from 17 African countries to argue on hypothetical human rights cases.
The long-standing conflict in Boko, combined with the insecurity in neighboring Burkina Faso, is having a devastating impact on farming and food security in the region. Many hectares of farmlands lie abandoned, leading to severe food insecurity. There's more in this report.
The conflict has adversely affected local economic development and livelihoods in Boko, deepening poverty among young people. Boko municipality, once second after Techiman in terms of food production, has suffered economic setbacks. As another farming season begins in the northern sector of Ghana, the people of Boko are unable to work on their farms due to the ongoing insecurity. Tracts of farmlands lay fallow as the people struggle to feed their families. This situation particularly affects women and children, making access to food a matter of luck. The problem is further exacerbated by Burkinabe nationals seeking refuge in the Boko area. The decades-long conflict has pushed many residents of the municipality into dire circumstances, and efforts are being made to support those affected.
I hear gunshots around the mission, and sometimes with these gunshots, even the fact that you can't even sleep, but then the following day you hear that they have killed people here, they have killed people over there. If you come to work in a place and then you wake up to hear that one of those you are working with is dead, somebody is coming to beg for food because he has lost a relative. This doesn't augur well for us to find peace and be happy in our work here in Boko.
Reverend Father Paul Ignatius Capuchina has begun a project to support over 350 women and children who lost relatives in the conflict.
While praying for them, I equally decided to appeal to my friends outside Ghana and told them the story of what I came to meet here in Boko. Some of the friends were sympathetic and then decided to mobilize money to buy food for those who have become poor because of the conflict.
Father Capuchina urged others to show support to the inhabitants while calling on the state to fast-track permanent solutions to the crises.
And use the occasion to appeal to the conscience of the leadership of Boko, the traditional authority, the political authority, to know that the war is not something that is good for the people. It's retrogressing them, it's bringing them backwards.
The Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, has expressed optimism about the country's meeting all reviews in order to access the second tranche of the IMF program. Ghana is seeking a $3 billion bailout, of which $600,000 have already been accessed in the first tranche. Ken Ofori-Atta made this known at the third CEO's breakfast meeting organized by the Ghana Investment Promotion Center in Accra.
Ghana's economy over the past few years has been experiencing some shocks, making it difficult to even eye investors. But the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, is hopeful of Ghana accessing the second tranche of the IMF program for an economic breakthrough.
We have the first review of the IMF this year, and in September the fund will be with us, looking at really the quantitative performance criteria, the indicative targets, and some of the structural benchmarks. I think we've made a lot of progress in all of that, and we expect that when the mission comes, we'll be able to get a staff-level agreement and then be able to go to the board in November.
The meeting was aimed at soliciting innovative means of putting the economic fortunes of the country on a good footing from top CEOs across the nation. Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Yofi Grant, acknowledged the immense role CEOs play in advancing nation building.
Let's do some international news now. It is not clear why he sounded the warning, but it comes in the aftermath of several recent coups in Francophone Africa and complaints at home about the rising cost of living. To colleagues that think we are timid, by being kind and that they can break the laws and entertain thoughts of illegal takeover of government, including under undemocratic coup d'etat. We are coming for you, he said. Since gaining independence in 1964, Zambia has never experienced military rule, though there have been several failed coup attempts. Well, he has been saying that he won the landslide victory over an incumbent president in 2021 and made the remarks on a visit to Kanyama, I beg your pardon, a suburb of the capital, Lusaka. He acknowledged food prices were high and said the government was addressing the issue. You can find more stories if you log on to 3news.com. My name is Godwin Asideba. The show continues with the able team, Roland Walker, Cookie T, and Nashako. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
How you doing? Charlie, how much is this jacket, by the way? Like $20,000?
Oh, please.
Oh, you haven't made that much yet,
This was
right?
made by Roxanne, a Ghanaian designer.
Oh,
Quite
wow.
affordable, yeah.
It's
See, it
really
looks
nice.
good, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really nice. When he walked in this morning, I was looking at it.
Oh, get used to it.
He looks really nice.
Godwin, get used to
It
it.
looks really nice.
Thank you very much.
But we haven't seen you in a while. We miss you.
Oh, I've missed you guys too. You know, I'm working on a documentary.
I was just going to ask you. I was just going to ask you.
What are you working on?
I wouldn't want to talk about it now.
Hush, hush.
Because, you know, other media houses are always monitoring to pick up
I
ideas
know.
from, yeah. So.
And once we talk about it, they run to go